In this video, we will be talking about how to implement ANCOVA in Rstudio. Specifically, we'll be talking about our peanut yield example from our Lesson 18 notes. Recall that this problem was focused on studying the effect of 3 fertilizers on the yield of peanut plants, where we also have the information that the initial height of the plant is associated with the yield. So we're trying to incorporate that into the model. So in Rstudio, you always want to make sure you're in the right directory. Then we want to load our data, and we want to make sure that our fertilizer is a factor because it's categorical. The first thing we might want to do is to graph the symbolic plot, which is this chunk of code here, and we're looking to see if the covariates and the treatment aren't confounded. So here we see they aren't, and we can see that the 3 treatments kind of have the same range. The next thing we might be interested is in doing the analysis. So recall from our notes that ANCOVA requires us to do a type 3 sums of squares. So there are multiple ways we can do this in R. The first way we can do this is to use LM and then the function ANOVA. And what this is going to do is it's our response, where we then have our covariate and our fertilizer. So these 2 equations here will produce the same thing, just a little bit different notation. And they will produce the correct ANOVA table, because just like when we were in an unbalanced case, we're putting the covariate first, and then we're putting our treatment or what we're interested in. So if you run these 2, control copy, control paste, you're going to get the same results, and this is going to match what we saw in our notes. Recall that Rstudio is going to use type 1, which is the sequential sums of squares. So this line right here is saying, assuming that heights in the model, how is fertilizer? Given heights in the model, how does fertilizer result? Or how's it impacted? The incorrect way to do this would be to use the ANOVA here, where fertilizer's first. If we look at this approach, we will notice that the sums or the F value for fertilizer in the correct table does not match with the incorrect. One way to fix this and always make sure you're using or having the correct analysis is to load the library called cars and then use this function with the capital A in ANOVA and then put types of 3. So even if we use the incorrect model and we ran this function, we would see that we get the correct F value. So using this will guarantee. You can also use this ANOVA with the correct model, and you get the same thing. What this is doing is just ensuring that we use the type 3 and there's no confusion. Additionally, what might be of interest after we see that our fertilizer does are different is to do a post hoc or Tukey's or Fisher's test, and we can run that same thing right here and see if there's a difference or not between our treatments. The remaining part of this code right here is to show the regression approach to ANCOVA like I did with JUMP at the end of lesson 18D. So if we were to load the peanut regression data, you can see that we have the columns DS and DF. If we were to run it with height, DS, DF, run this model, load in cars, look at the ANOVA, we'll see that these results would match what we saw in JUMP in our video. And then you also have our summary where we can get our estimates, which again were talked about in the lesson. And that's it.